Cliff House, North Pole, Christmas 1938. My dear Priscilla, and all others at your house, here we are again. Bless me, I believe I said that before. But after all, you don't want Christmas to be different each year, do you? I'm frightfully sorry that I haven't had time to draw any big picture this year. And Ilbereth, my secretary, has not done one either. But we are all sending you some rhymes instead. Some of my other children seem to like rhymes, so perhaps you will. We have all been very sorry to hear about Christopher. I hope he is better and will have a jolly Christmas. I only heard lately when my messengers and letter collectors came back from Oxford. Tell him to cheer up. And although he is now growing up and leaving stockings behind, I shall bring a few things along this year. Among them is a small astronomy book, which gives a few hints on the use of telescopes. Thank you for telling me he had got one. Oh, dear me, my hand is shaky. I hope you can read some of this. I loved your long letter with all the amusing pictures. Give my love to your Bingos, and all the other 60 or more, especially Raggles and Predley and Tinker and Taylor and Jubilee and Snowball. I hope you will go on writing to me for a long while yet. Very much love to you, and lots for Chris, from Father Christmas. Again this year, my dear Priscilla, when you're asleep upon your pillow.
Bad rhyme, that's beaten you.
Beside your bed, old Father Christmas. The English language has no rhyme to Father Christmas. That's why I'm not very good at making verses. But what I find a good deal worse is the girls' and boys' names won't rhyme either. And bother, either won't rhyme neither. So please forgive me, dear Priscilla, if I pretend you rhyme with Bella.
She won't.
As I was saying, beside your bed, old Father Christmas, afraid that any creak or hiss must, how's that?
Out.
Wake you up, will in a twinkling fill up your stocking.
I've an inkling that it belongs, in fact, to Pater, but never mind.
At 12 or later he will arrive, and hopes once more that he has chosen from his store
I did it.
the things you want. You're 9:30.
She is not a clock.
But still I hope you'll drop a line, for some years yet, and won't forget old Father Christmas and his pet, the North Polar Bear, and polar cubs as fat as little butter tubs, and snowboys and elves, in fact the whole of my household up near the pole. Upon my list, made in December, your number is, if you remember, 56,785. It can't be wondered
Weak.
at that I am so busy when you think that you are nearly 10. And in that time my list has grown by quite 10,000 girls alone, even when I've subtracted all the houses where I no longer call. You all will wonder what's the news, if all has gone well, and if not, who's to blame, and whether Polar Bear has earned a mark, good, bad, or fair, for his behaviour since last winter. Well, first he trod upon a splinter,
Just rhyming nonsense. It was a nail. Rusty, too.
and went on crutches in November. And then, one cold day in December, he burnt his nose and singed his paws upon the kitchen grate, because, without the help of tongs, he tried to roast hot chestnuts. "Wow!" he cried,
I never did.
and used a pound of butter, best, to cure the burns. He would not rest,
I was not given a chance.
but on the 23rd he went and climbed up on the roof. He meant to clear the snow away that choked his chimney up. Of course he poked his legs right through the tiles, and snow in tons fell on his bed below. He has broken saucers, cups, and plates, and eaten lots of chocolates. He's dropped large boxes on my toes and trodden tin soldiers flat in rows.
You need not believe all this.
You need.
He's overwound engines and broken springs and mixed up different children's things. He's thumbed new books and burst balloons and scribbled lots of smudgy runes on my best paper and wiped his feet on scarves and hankies folded neat. And yet he has been, on the whole, a very kind and willing soul. He's fetched and carried, counted, packed, and for a week has never slacked.
Here, here.
I wish you wouldn't scribble on my nice rhyme. He's climbed the cellar stairs at least 5,000 times. The dear old beast.
Paxu sends love and Valkatuka.
They are still with me, and they don't look a year older, but they're just a bit more wise and have a pinch more wit. The goblins, you'll be glad to hear, have not been seen at all this year, not near the pole, but I am told they're moving south and getting bold, and coming back to many lands, and making with their wicked hands new mines and caves. But do not fear, they'll hide away when I appear.
Christmas Day. Now Christmas Day has come round again, and poor Polar Bear has got a bad pain. They say he swallowed a couple of pounds of nuts without cracking the shells. It sounds a polarish sort of thing to do, but that isn't all. Between me and you, he's eaten a ton of various goods and recklessly mixed all his favourite foods. Honey with ham and turkey with treacle and pickles with milk. I think that a week'll be needed to put the old bear on his feet. And I mustn't forget his particular treat, plum pudding with sausages and Turkish delight, covered with cream and devoured at a bite. And after this dish he stood on his head. It's rather a wonder the poor fellow's not dead.
Absolute rot. I have not got a pain in my pot.
Rude fellow.
I do not eat turkey or meat. I stick to the sweet, which is why, as all know, I am so sweet myself, you thinuous elf. Goodbye.
He means fatuous.
No, I don't. You're not fat, but thin and silly.
You know my friends too well to think, although they're rather rude with ink, that there are really quarrels here. We've had a very jolly year, except for Polar Bear's rusty nail. But now this rhyme must catch the mail. A special messenger must go, in spite of thickly falling snow, or else this won't get down to you on Christmas Day. It's 2:30. We've quite a ton of crackers still to pull, and glasses still to fill. Our love to you on this Noel. Until the next one, fare you well. Father Christmas.
Polar Bear,
Ilbereth.
Paxu and Valkatuka.
Cliff House, North Pole, December the 24th, 1939. My dear Priscilla, I am glad you managed to send me 2 letters, although you have been rather busy working. I hope your Bingo family will have a jolly Christmas and behave themselves. Tell Billy, is not that the father's name, not to be so cross. They are not to quarrel over the crackers I am sending. I am very busy, and things are very difficult this year, owing to this horrible war. Many of my messengers have never come back. I haven't been able to do you a very nice picture this year. It is supposed to show me carrying things down our new path to the sleigh sheds. Paxu is in front with a torch, looking most frightfully pleased with himself, as usual. There is just a glimpse, quite enough, of Polar Bear strolling along behind. He is, of course, carrying nothing. There have been no adventures here, and nothing funny has happened, and that is because Polar Bear has done hardly anything to help, as he calls it, this year.
Rot.
I don't think he has been lazier than usual, but he has been not at all well. He ate some fish that disagreed with him last November, and was afraid he might have to go to hospital in Greenland. But after living only on warm water for a fortnight, he suddenly threw the glass and the jug out of the window and decided to get better. He drew the trees in the picture, and I'm afraid they are not very good.
Best part of it.
They look more like umbrellas. Still, he sends love to you and all your bears. Why don't you have polar cubs instead of bingos and koalas, he says.
Why not?
Give my love to Christopher and Michael and to John when you next write. Love from Father Christmas.
December 23rd, 1940. Dear Priscilla, glad to find you are back. Message came on Saturday that your house was empty. Was afraid you had gone without leaving any address. Are having very difficult time this year, but are doing our best. Thank you for explaining about your room. Father Christmas sends love. Please excuse blots. Rather busy. Yours, Polar Bear.
Cliff House, near North Pole, Christmas Eve, 1940. My dearest Priscilla, just a short letter to wish you a very happy Christmas. Please give my love to Christopher. We are having rather a difficult time this year. This horrible war is reducing all our stocks, and in so many countries children are living far from their homes. Polar Bear has had a very busy time trying to get our address lists corrected. I'm glad you are still at home. I wonder what you will think of my picture. Penguins don't live at the North Pole, you will say. Yeah, I know they don't. But we have got some all the same. What you would call evacuees, I believe. Not a very nice word. Except that they did not come here to escape the war, but to find it. They had heard such stories of the happenings up in the north, including a quite untrue story that Polar Bear and all the polar cubs had been blown up, and that I had been captured by goblins, that they swam all the way here to see if they could help me. Nearly 50 arrived. The picture is of Polar Bear dancing with their chiefs. They amuse us enormously. They don't really help much, but are always playing funny dancing games and trying to imitate the walk of Polar Bear and the cubs. Father Christmas. Cliff House, near Stump of North Pole, December the 22nd, 1941. My dearest Priscilla, I am so glad you did not forget to write to me again this year. The number of children who keep up with me seems to be getting smaller. I expect it is because of this horrible war, and that when it is over things will improve again, and I shall be as busy as ever. But at present, so terribly many people have lost their homes, or have left them. Half the world seems in the wrong place. And even up here we have been having troubles. I don't mean only with my stores. Of course they are getting low. They were already last year, and I have not been able to fill them up, so that I have now to send what I can instead of what is asked for. But worse than that has happened. I expect you remember that some years ago we had trouble with the goblins, and we thought we had settled it. Well, it broke out again this autumn, worse than it has been for centuries. We have had several battles, and for a while my house was besieged. In November it began to look likely that it would be captured, and all my goods, and that Christmas stockings would all remain empty all over the world. Would not that have been a calamity? It has not happened, and that is largely due to the efforts of Polar Bear.
N.B. That's me.
But it was not until the beginning of this month that I was able to send out any messengers. I expect the goblins thought that with so much war going on, this was a fine chance to recapture the north. They must have been preparing for some years, and they made a huge new tunnel, which had an outlet many miles away. It was early in October that they suddenly came out in thousands. Polar Bear says there were at least 1 million, but that is his favourite big number.
There were at least 100 million.
Anyway, he was still fast asleep at the time, and I was rather drowsy myself. The weather was rather warm for the time of the year, and Christmas seemed far away. There were only 1 or 2 elves about the place, and of course Paxu and Valkutuka, also fast asleep. The penguins had all gone away in the spring. Luckily, goblins cannot help yelling and beating on drums when they mean to fight. So we all woke up in time and got the gates and doors barred and the windows shuttered. Polar Bear got on the roof and fired rockets into the goblin hosts as they poured up the long reindeer drive, but that did not stop them for long. We were soon surrounded. I have not time to tell you all the story. I had to blow 3 blasts on the great horn, wind beam. It hangs over the fireplace in the hall, and if I had not told you about it before, it is because I have not had to blow it for over 400 years. Its sound carries as far as the north wind blows. All the same, it was 3 whole days before help came. Snowboys, polar bears, and hundreds of elves. They came up behind the goblins, and Polar Bear, really awake this time, rushed out with a blazing branch off the fire in each paw. He must have killed dozens of goblins. He says 1 million. But there was a big battle down in the plain near the North Pole in November, in which the goblins brought hundreds of new companies out of their tunnels. We were driven back to the cliff, and it was not until Polar Bear and a party of his younger relatives crept out by night and blew up the entrance to the new tunnels with nearly 100 pounds of gunpowder that we got the better of them, for the present. But bang went all the stuff for making fireworks and crackers. The cracking part, for some years. The North Pole cracked and fell over for the 2nd time, and we have not yet had time to mend it. Polar Bear is rather a hero. I hope he does not think so himself.
I do.
But, of course, he is a very magical animal, really.
N.B.
And goblins can't do much to him. When he is awake and angry, I have seen their arrows bouncing off him and breaking. Well, that will give you some idea of events, and you will understand why I have not had time to draw a picture this year. Rather a pity, because there have been such exciting things to draw, and why I have not been able to collect the usual things for you, or even the very few that you asked for. I am told that nearly all the Alice and Utley books have been burnt, and I could not find one of mouldy warp. I must try and get one for next time. I am sending you a few other books which I hope you will like. There is not a great deal else, but I send you very much love. I like to hear about your bear, Bingo, but really I think he is too old and important to hang up stockings. But Polar Bear seems to feel that any kind of bear is a relation. And he said to me, "Leave it to me, old man." That, I am afraid, is what he often calls me. "I will pack a perfectly beautiful selection for his Poliness." Yes, Poliness. So I shall try and bring the beautiful selection along. What it is, I don't know. Very much love from your old friend, Father Christmas.
And Polar Bear.
Cliff House, North Pole, Christmas Eve, 1942. My dear Priscilla, Polar Bear tells me that he cannot find my letter from you among this year's piles. I hope he has not lost any. He is so untidy. Still, I expect you have been very busy this autumn at your new school. I have had to guess what you would like. I think I know fairly well. And luckily we are still pretty well off for books and things of that sort. But really, you know, I have never seen my stock so low, or my cellars so full of empty places, as Polar Bear says. I am hoping that I shall be able to replenish them before long, although there is so much waste and smashing going on that it makes me rather sad, and anxious too. Deliveries, too, are more difficult than ever this year, with damaged houses and houseless people, and all the dreadful events going on in your countries. Of course, it is just as peaceful and merry in my land as ever it was. We had our snow early this year, and then nice crisp frosty nights to keep it white and firm, and bright starry days. No sun just now, of course. I'm giving as big a party tomorrow night as ever I did. Polar cubs, Paxu and Balkutukar, of course, among them, and snowboys and elves. We are having the tree indoors this year, in the hall at the foot of the great staircase, and I hope Polar Bear does not fall down the stairs and crash into it after it is all decorated and lit up. I hope you will not mind my bringing this little letter along with your things tonight. I am short of messengers, as some have great trouble in finding people, and have been away for days. Just now I caught Polar Bear in my pantry, and I'm sure he had been to a cupboard. I do not know why. He has wrapped up a mysterious small parcel which he wants me to bring to you. Well, not exactly to you. He said, "She has got a bear, too, as you ought to remember." Well, my dear, here is very much love from Father Christmas once more, and very good wishes for 1943. No battles at all this year. Quiet as quiet. I think the goblins were really crushed this time. Windbeam is hanging over the mantelpiece and is quite dusty again, I'm glad to say. But Polar Bear has spent lots of time this year making fresh gunpowder, just in case of trouble. He said, "Wouldn't that grubby little Billy like being here?" I don't know what he was talking about, unless it was about your bear. Does he eat gunpowder?
You'll find out about the pantry. Ha ha! I know what you like. Don't let that Billy Bear eat it all. Love from Polar Bear. Message to Billy Bear from Polar Bear. Sorry I could not send you a really good bomb. All our powder has gone up in a big bang. you would have seen what a really good explosion is like, if you'd been there.
Cliff House, North Pole, Christmas 1943. My dear Priscilla, a very happy Christmas. I suppose you will be hanging up your stocking just once more. I hope so, for I have still a few little things for you. After this, I shall have to say goodbye, more or less. I mean, I shall not forget you. We always keep the old numbers of our old friends and their letters, and later on we hope to come back when they are grown up and have houses of their own and children. My messengers tell me that people called it grim this year. I think they mean miserable, and so it is, I fear, in very many places where I was specially fond of going. But I am very glad to hear that you are still not really miserable. Don't be. I am still very much alive, and shall come back again soon, as merry as ever. There has been no damage in my country, and though my stocks are running rather low, I hope soon to put that right. Polar Bear, too tired to write himself, so he says,
I am really...
sends a special message to you. Love and a hug. He says, do ask if she still has a bear called Silly Billy, or something like that. Or is he worn out? Give my love to the others, John and Michael and Christopher, and of course to all your pets that you used to tell me about. Polar Bear and all the cubs are very well. They have really been very good this year, and have hardly had time to get into any mischief. I hope you will find most of the things that you wanted, and I am very sorry that I have no cat's tongues left. But I have sent nearly all the books you asked for. I hope your stocking will seem full. Very much love from your old friend, Father Christmas.